Hi, welcome to another class in Boundless, and today we'll be focusing on trying to create a little bit more mobility or freedom in the shoulder as well as in the ribs. So today we'll be doing it from a chair. I have this time on the back of the chair some padding. That's because I didn't have padding on my chair already. It was all that, yeah. So have a chair that has a little bit of padding but firm support, and that when you sit back in the chair that your feet will be able to touch the floor. If they don't quite touch, then put something solid underneath so that you've got a good foundation there. So with Boundless, we're always encouraging that the movement be gentle and steady and smooth and slow with ease. Now, if I say all of that, that may sound like an effort, right? Another way of saying this is that we're really trying to move into a state of presence, slow internally, soften down and get very comfortable. Yeah, that doesn't sound so bad, does it? And then sometimes maybe when I come in, my mind is already speeded up and I'm not in that place, then this wouldn't be the time for you to try it. Hold on to the video, come back at a time when you feel like, okay, I just need to slow down. And so in the slowing down, because the movements are going to ask you to do that, that will help calm the whole energy system down. And then, of course, vice versa. So don't not try it if you're upset or whatever, because it can be helpful. But if you know it's just too much, then come back and try it at a time when you're just ready to take a nice breath and decompress, okay? So the reason for that is that when we're approaching it from a calmer or a quieter state, then we're able to tune deeper into a beautiful system that your body has, and that is part of the sensory system. We have three components of that, and it's all somethingception, right? We have endoception, and that is the ability to feel certain stuff going on inside of our body. It's our warning system, like what I ate didn't feel right. Well, maybe I don't eat that again, right? Or I feel sick, or my appendix needs to come out. It's a warning system to pay attention. And then we have the ectoception, and that is the surface of the skin. And so that allows us to feel our environment. So I know if something's hot, can I touch it, or will it burn me? Or to enjoy the pleasantness of a spring breeze on the skin. And that's the nice thing about our nervous system, that it is meant to be as a warning system, and it is also meant to be one of just allowing us to enjoy life. The third one, which is what we're mostly turning in towards, is proprioception. And that is part of the nerves that run along our muscles. And that gives us feedback on movement and integrated movement, yeah? So that I can feel the solidness of my stance supporting the rest of my body, and so on, yeah? And so when our brain starts to move into that more settled, not in a hurry state, we're able to tap in better to that proprioceptive part of our body, and that feedback then helps us to feel more coordinated, more integrated, more satisfied, yeah? And so that's the goal. So let's, dive in together, and it'll be my job to kind of coach you through. So because we're focusing on the shoulder, we want to kind of become familiar with the three components of the shoulder. You can come along with me on that, or later when you want to investigate. But the shoulder is made up of the collarbone, and that starts at the base of your neck, that little knob there. And if you touch the top of the collarbone and you poke and walk your way out, you'll feel how far out it goes to the end of what we call our shoulder, but right where the end of the arm is, yeah? And then we have, of course, the shoulder blade that you'll feel back there. There's this long flat part that glides along, and it also ends up around the same place where your collarbone stops. And then we have the upper arm that of course moves. Yeah. So it can all move together as one piece, or we can move the arm independently. But we want to have the same feeling that when the shoulder blade goes up, your collarbone goes up too. Okay, so we want to be able to feel that together. So the movement that we'll be asking, or I'll be asking of you for the shoulder today, will be just a movement forward and back. And I'll guide you through that. Okay, but again, we want to do this in a way that is comfortable, looking to try and create a smooth and gliding feeling, not a force, push, effort. Yeah. Now, if you've had any injuries or surgeries, or if you currently have a port, I will be at some point asking you to place your hand along this area on both sides. So, you know, of course, you don't have to do that if there's still some injury there. So please modify as you need. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do is stand up, and we're going to be doing a little baseline of rotation. And you may notice that in my chair I do have a little padding towards the back. We'll be using that to rest into it. So if you need to take time to get a padding for your chair and then, you know, start, so just stop the tape and come back and we'll be ready for you. Okay? All right, so let's go ahead and stand up. So first thing we're going to do is just stand comfortably. And again, this is not a big, it's not a competition to see how far you can go, but I want you to begin to turn to the left and to the right. Yeah, let your arms just hang and see, you know, how far does your head and your body go without forcing. You'll feel where there's a point that if you go further, it's because you're pushing yourself to, or straining to go, or you're just comfortably rotating back and forth. Yeah. So as you do that, at some point, look on both sides, sort of like a baseline on where do you see, what's a landmark that you can look at to see how far you've turned. And again, don't try to go further because you're looking for a landmark now, but that we're just comfortably turning and seeing what that rotation does. Okay? All right, now come and have a seat. And sit to the back of your chair, but try to sit upright and comfortable. Okay? So once we're in the chair, we also want to just take a baseline. Let your back sit comfortably into the back and scoot your bottom as close to the back of the chair. So it should be a straight back chair. And even if your shoulder blades aren't resting into the back of the chair, see if like maybe the tips of your shoulder blades are. But as you rest back, how much of your back is in contact with the chair? Do you feel where there's some places where there might be some gaps, like in the lower back? Or one shoulder blade, tip of the shoulder blade seems to be more in contact with the chair than the other? And notice your breath. Now, throughout this class, I would always encourage you to have your eyes closed, and I'll be guiding you through. If you're unsure about what I'm asking you to do, you can take a little peek. But, you know, in general, tuning inward into a calm state of presence, watching the movement that you're creating and encouraging it to have these gentle qualities, it's easier when the eyes are closed. So the first thing that we're going to do is tune in to your left shoulder. And we're going to just begin to glide that left shoulder forward and back to its starting point. And so do that a few times. And every time you bring it back to the starting point, pause for a moment and just feel like you're letting go as if that's the last time you do it. And you're just like, okay, done. Yeah. And then initiate it again. And then you bring it back. And then it's like what we call a let go. And then you'll feel it starting again and back. Yeah. And allow your breath just to be comfortable and smooth. And when we're bringing the shoulder back, it's to the starting point. We're not drawing it backwards yet. You're just sort of like, I got a starting point to the side. I move it forward and release. And do that one more time. And just let your arms rest on your lap. Yeah. Allow a deep breath and just let that settle. So something just very simple that what we've done, but can you notice if there's a difference now between the feeling of the left side and the right side of your shoulder? And there may be yes, maybe no, but just that little bit, has there been a change in the shoulder that you've been moving? Okay, so next take the opposite hand, so take your right hand and place the heel of your hand at your breastbone and let your fingertips then angle up towards, part of touching the shoulder and onto your collarbone. And then you will feel, as you draw that shoulder forward, look for sensation that happens underneath your hand. So keep drawing it gently forward with ease and letting it settle back, and drawing forward again with ease and letting it go back, and continue to do this at your own pace, and keep letting your mind wander and be curious about what's happening. Both, can you feel like the shoulder blade moving, the collarbone? What do you feel moving underneath your fingers and your hand? And do you feel a change also somewhere close to the breastbone? Okay, so then just let that settle back and let your hand just gently glide back down onto your lap. And just tune in again and see from the last time that we checked in, does that shoulder and that side of your body feel different than the opposite side, than your right side? And just tune into your back to see if anything has changed from there. Maybe yes, maybe no. Okay, so bring your hand, just leave your hand down for a minute. And now this time we're going to coordinate the movement that when you bring that left shoulder forward, you're going to let your head turn gently a little bit to the right. And then when they bring the shoulder back, bring the head back to the center so that there's like a unified feeling of movement. So again, it may not be very big, but as the shoulder moves forward, your head turns away. And when the shoulder moves back, your head comes back to the front. So take your time and look for a gliding, smooth movement, both now in your head and neck and in that shoulder. And see if you can feel like they move together. And allow your breath to still be comfortable. And then when you finish that one for a moment, then replace your hand and bring the right hand back on top of the breastbone and reaching over on top of the, somewhere touching the collarbone and along the top of your shoulder. And begin that again. So feel a coordinated movement now of your left shoulder moving gently forward and your head turning gently and moving it back together. So now again, keep doing this at your own pace. Slow it down, make it gentle, because as you do that, how much more in different places can you feel? Like what's going on in your back? Do you feel changes with somewhere in your rib cage? And of course, collarbone and shoulder blade and neck. And breathing comfortably. And then slowly bring that back to the center and lower your hands down. Allow for a good, nice, easy breath. And compare again. What has changed? Has anything changed with your left side compared to the right? Okay, so now we're going to explore the other side, but before we initiate movement, we're going to use a little bit of the power of our imagination. So I want you to tune into your right shoulder and imagine that you're going to glide that shoulder forward. You're not going to move it. You're going to imagine that it's got the orders and it's moving forward. So in your mind, see your right shoulder gliding forward and gliding back, letting go. Imagine it gliding forward, gliding back and forward at your own pace. And you're breathing comfortably. Just feel as if you can feel that shoulders moving in your mind. You know, athletes train this way for the perfect throw or the fastest run. They practice it in their mind, and that connects kinesthetically to the nervous system to the muscular system. Okay, so now we're going to move it for real. Okay, so begin now moving that right shoulder, gliding forward and gliding back. Keep it feather light, feather soft, and see if just by having imagined it, did that make this feeling even easier or more comfortable? Did it have an effect just by imagining moving it first? And then once it moves back to its starting point, bring your hand across again on the breastbone, touching maybe your index finger on a collarbone and the rest of your fingers stretching across. Now you can also, when you want to repeat this later, instead of just jumping in, take a moment and feel the warmth of your hand against your body. And let the feeling, let your proprioceptive part of your nervous system feel the absorption of that heat into your body below the skin. Let it be comfortable and the hand be comfortable and relaxed. And then we begin again, gently glide that shoulder forward and glide it back. Just to the starting point, we're not moving it backwards yet. And as you do that, again, notice the changes that are happening, the bones that we understand that make up the shoulder, and the sensation of the movement under your hand. And how does that translate into any kind of subtle movement in your back? Rest your back. Keep resting your back into the chair. Sometimes we inadvertently, when we're bringing the shoulder forward, we lean forward. So let your back comfortably settle into the back of your chair as the shoulder glides forward into the neutral point. Okay? So now let your hand come and rest back onto your lap, and take notice as there's a change starting to happen that maybe feels like it's starting to even out the left and the right shoulder. And now with your right shoulder, begin to glide it forward and then back to the starting point. And this time let your head move with the shoulder. And so that as the shoulder comes forward, your head will turn slightly to the left. And when you bring the shoulder to the neutral, head back to center. And feel again that it is a unified movement, that these two are connected and moving together. Okay, so stop that and bring your hand back onto the breastbone. Spread it so that part of the fingers touching the collarbone, the rest is reaching up towards the shoulder. And connect shoulder and head movement again. So start gently gliding the right shoulder forward. Feel the head turn and they move back together. So do this again at your own pace, keeping it soft and gentle and looking for all the nuances of sensation that are integrated into this action. And how much of your sensation is changing in your neck? Do you feel any subtle change or movement in the breastbone? In your back? And keep your breath comfortable. Okay, so bring that back and let the arm rest down and take a nice deep breath. So next, the action will be with your left shoulder. We're going to glide it backwards now towards the chair. And of course, that feels very different. And release. And do this a few times. Gently glide the shoulder back as you let your back really just rest into the chair. And let it release. And keep relaxing into the back of the chair. Feel how much of your back is in contact with the chair as the shoulder glides back. And remember, we want it to feel like it's gliding back, not forcing it back. And of course, how is the arm helping you with that? And what other changes do you feel in the front of the chest and the back? And then let that rest. And then compare the left side with the right side. Has that created another change or differences between the two sides? And then we repeat that on the right shoulder. So gently begin to initiate drawing your shoulders straight back and to the neutral. Use the sensation of movement as it connects to the chair. And does this shoulder move differently backwards than the other one? Maybe yes, maybe no. And do you feel a change in your neck when the shoulder moves back? Or the ribs? And then bring it to neutral and allow for an easy breath. So now we're going to combine this a little bit. Yeah? So I want you to pay attention back to your left shoulder and begin to draw it forward comfortably. Then draw the right shoulder backwards and still have your back resting into the chair. Then reverse, or just allow it to return. Do that again on the same side. Bring the left shoulder forward and the right shoulder back as you rest backward into the chair. And notice all of what's happening with that coordinated effort, action. Shoulder forward, right shoulder back. Then begin to incorporate, allow your head to be part of that. So as the left shoulder moves forward, the head turns to the right, and the right shoulder moves towards the back. Okay? Do that one more time. And be breathing comfortably, resting into the chair. Feel that coordinated action. And settle. Pause for a moment, compare the two sides, see if there's any changes or differences or not sure. But now let's do it to the other side. So begin to draw your right shoulder gliding forward as your left shoulder settles backwards towards the chair. And then return to the neutral point. And do that a few times at your own pace. Try to feel them working together, shoulder back, shoulder forward, and resist any temptation to put too much effort into it. Just soft, easy, like a breeze. And as you get softer, do you feel changes down in your spine? Changes in the breastbone or your ribs? And let your head be part of that now. So as the right shoulder comes forward and the left back, head can turn. Keep resting into the chair as you try to coordinate this. And then come to neutral. Compare the two sides and take an easy breath. So now we're going to place the hands back and they'll be crossed over. So bring your left hand on the breastbone and across, and then the right hand as much as you can across and having it rest in touch. So then coordinate everything together. We're going to go left and right. So begin drawing your left shoulder forward, your right shoulder back, and the head can turn towards the right. Gently reverse it as you rest into the chair, rolling along the chair. Left shoulder goes back, right shoulder forward as the head turns. And just feel what's happening in your breastbone, your ribs, your spine, collarbone, shoulder blade. How much of your body wants to become involved in this coordinated feeling of one shoulder back, one shoulder forward, head just coming along as part of it. And what's going on in your waist, your hips. And come back to center. Slowly lower the arms. Allow for an easy breath. And first just take notice, how does your back feel in the chair? Has it changed? Does it feel different than when you started? How do between the left and the right shoulder, how do they feel? Does anything feel new or different? And the neck, we could gently turn our head a little bit left and right, see how that feels. And now we're going to stand up and do our rotation again to see if there's any new sensation or any change. So first, just place your hands on the side of your chair so that you can gently glide forward. And then when you're ready, go ahead and stand up. And then just be in a place where it's comfortable. Let your arms hang to your side. And just as we did at the beginning, begin to turn left and right. And as you do that, just without effort, has your baseline changed? Where you first were looking, is it the same, or is it just as comfortable to go a little further naturally? Has it changed? And then as you continue to do that back and forth, just feel the coordination that as one shoulder goes forward, the other goes back. Notice how the head and eyes turn comfortably with it. What changes do you feel in your ribs, in your waist? Feel the change of the breastbone. Now, if this feels comfortable for you and you want to continue to do this for a little bit, please feel free to do so. I'm going to stop because we're going to begin finishing the class. I encourage you that once you've done this just gentle rotation back and forth, to maybe just stand for a moment to see if even in the standing things feel a little bit differently connected, and hopefully better connected and more solid in terms of stability and comfort. And then if you want to go back to sit down and just hopefully it feels enjoyable and comfortable and relaxing, so that you can just take time to stay in this state of presence, to let that nourish you and then help you to recharge for the day. Thank you so much for being here, and hope to see you again soon. All right, thank you so much.